Yeah, I'm pretty incompetent with this stuff.
That's right. It's being recorded,
yeah,
it says now.
Okay,
Oh,
terrific.
I don't even have a place that says action, so I'm glad you do.
Yeah, I know.
Can you all hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really clear. Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah, it just notified me that I'm being recorded.
Yeah.
If you I had to sort of roll my cursor over the top of the screen, and then I began to see boxes like add to call, view, actions. Maybe it's somewhere else on your screen.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you for that little educational lesson. Uh-oh.
I'm here.
There
you
you
there?
I am.
Okie doke. Feel free to jump in, whoever wants to.
I'll jump in. Insanely busy month. I know everybody's insanely busy, but, I think I told you our house was on the market and all that. The deal fell through, and, the whole house thing is a whole separate and distinct, huge stress right now. So we'll just leave it at that. But the next month and a half is crazy. I am going to Hartford next Monday with Steve to do the active engagement. So I had a conversation with him about that, and I'm excited. I'm excited to hear how from the facilitators present. I have not been to a 4-day as looking at it as a facilitator, and I'm excited to do that. And maybe, I don't know if you've been to one, Bob, but I think, Darcy, you've been to, and maybe you could offer me some insight on that, because I'm kind of excited to see how that's going to build and manifest. And he's doing it with the theme of mindfulness. So it's the 4-day retreat with mindfulness. So I'm not even sure what that's going to look like. So I'm excited to see that. I've done some processing on both of the emails that we received from Steve and Sandra, and that was, I'm still processing. I'm still processing that. I see Jean next week. She's coming out here to see Elio Delio, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. She's in our neck of the woods, and Jean needs to be up north. So anyway, I'm going to spend the afternoon with her next Saturday, and I'm going to talk to her about it. I'm going to talk to her about, what, can you give me a little bit more feedback on what's taking place with this? And so I'm looking forward to seeing her anyway, because that's just fun. And Steve, he makes me a little more nervous. And that's kind of where I'm at. I've got finals coming up and graduation, and that's all happy, exciting. And my sister, I think, is coming to my graduation, which is huge. I don't know if I've ever expressed that she is not at all supportive in interfaith ministry at all. Totally. We can't even discuss it. So the fact that she might be coming is super wonderful. And, yeah, that's where I am.
Wow. Sounds like a whirlwind to me.
Yeah.
It's the same.
Boy.
Wow. Well, I come a little tired, but I have no idea why, because I had kind of a relaxing weekend, although it was all homework. I was trying to catch up because I really have felt kind of behind when it comes to all this work. And then earlier last week, Monday and Tuesday of last week, we had the first 2-day of dynamic dialogue at my church. And so that was really different for me to see and experience. I was a facilitator for portions of it, And yeah, it was a good experience. But just the awkwardness of the emails and this place we're in of, I'm just, yeah, I'd be very uncomfortable to talk to Steve right now because, like, how much he doesn't know anything, I guess, about what dynamic dialogue is. And it's just, I didn't either up until, Monday. Last Monday. So it's awkward. So I'm kind of feeling like I totally get Larry's comment. It makes so much sense to me that it feels like our parents are getting a divorce and we're stuck in the middle.
Yes.
And that's, I guess that's kind of how I arrived today.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't addressed the emails. Unlike the two of you who have been part of a workshop or will be, I haven't had that opportunity. And all I can say is I'm trying my best to, at this point, just say what is it I want to take away from dialogue. And especially in terms of translating it with the help of art, or to help prepare me in terms of working with groups anyways, using some of these tools for the group process of my retreats. But I'm biased naturally because of having worked at Bread of Life and experienced that milieu and feeling excited by what the possibility could be for a new creation or an adaptation. And yet I have a personal connection with Steve through a mutual Jesuit friend. And so that's never been a major factor, but it is in my mind in terms of, just how that could impact our relationship. But like I said, maybe I just haven't allowed it to sink in because I haven't had any active experience with either one at this point. So the other stuff going on right now is I'm continuing. I'm mobile again. I'm driving.
Wow.
I'm doing more
Yay.
work through the internet and Skype, and some individuals that have been some new possibilities in the coming months for more local work. And so, I mean, that has me excited. And there's still the healthcare maintenance. That's an ongoing process. But for now, there's been no major red flags. So I'm grateful for that. And so I that would be how I arrived today. So, what I'd like to suggest or offer, I want to check out my assumption anyways, about this exercise of the blindfolds. And, I know that's the intent in terms of helping us to listen better and so forth. But I want to do it in a organized way, well, loosely organized, in the sense that to help us follow this organizational awareness grid. I don't know if you had a chance to look over it or remember it from the last month. but it's that process of going from low awareness to a higher awareness. And how I propose to do that is to take us through that meditation on a quiet, safe place, and then actually go into the exercise with the blindfolds, and then processing afterwards, and asking one or two specific questions to help us in our processing that hopefully could lead us to higher awareness. But I don't want to, I have to let any outcome die. So that's my hope or my intention. But that's the general outline. And so I do want to check out, how does that sound to people in terms of, I'm assuming, what could help us to slow down and to be in a quieter, deeper place is if we do a meditation first. How would that be?
Sounds good to me.
All righty. Great. So, I was wondering if it helps, because I invite people to close their eyes. So you might want to try your blindfolds if you want.
I gotta get it.
But it's not required. Okay.
I'm good at closing my eyes.
Okay, that's fine. Yeah.
I'm good.
Oh, good. We get to see how cute you're going to look with your little blindfold on. Oh, totally cute.
Why, did you forget one, dear?
No, he just said, or close your eyes. I brought one right here.
I like it.
I thought I would forget it.
I actually get. Okie doke. So,
I'm waiting for someone to walk in my office and wonder what the
Luckily, I'm home.
Oh.
Okay, I'm ready.
Terrific.
Okay, I'm ready.
So just kind of get settled and relaxed, and begin to follow your breath. Noticing as you take maybe a deep one or two. Is it warm, or are you feeling anxious? Maybe you're feeling a little calmer. Or just notice in your body if you're feeling tight anywhere. So just allowing yourself to be relaxed and asking yourself, how am I feeling right now? How am I right now? And just accept whatever feeling there is. And then I'm going to invite you to imagine a peaceful place. It may be one that you've been to before, a place that you retreat to, or it could be one that you conjure up in your imagination. And ask yourself, what's between me and feeling all fine right now? We shared some external events or feelings, and they may still be lingering. So just notice what's there. If you have any doubts or fears. And as you notice these feelings or thoughts coming up, just place them at a distance, like in a package, or if there's a bench nearby in your imagination, just place them over there. And you could be getting quite a stack of things, but just feel whatever surfaces that you have the control to put them aside. So listen again to the feeling all fine. Is there a word or image that fits that? Somewhere inside of you, feeling all fine. And just check it out with your body where that might be residing. And so again, just begin to notice in your mind this peaceful, sacred place where you find yourself right now, and that it's okay to enter into this exercise. And so for the next, they suggest 20 minutes, I'm just going to listen as you to share whatever you want to converse about, and then we'll process at the end of that time. Okay, just checking in how the system's working or not.
Well, you're coming in and out for me. Your sound is coming in and out.
And it was just toward the end of your, as you were
Right.
giving us instructions.
Yeah, not the whole time, just towards the end.
Thank you.
I can hear you well
Okay,
now.
that's helpful.
Yeah, I can hear you well now.
Okay, so for the next 20 minutes or so, you two are going to have a conversation, and I'm just going to listen.
Oh, just the two of us. Okay.
Do we have a theme?
Yeah, and it can be about any.
It can be about anything?
Be anything you want it to be. Yeah.
Oh, dear. Okay, it's kind of weird.
It is a little strange.
Yeah.
I guess I can tell you a little bit about what happened with the dynamic dialogue. It was the basic premise, from what I understand, is that with dynamic dialogue, it's allowing Jean and Sandra some freedom that they felt they didn't have in contemplative dialogue or active engagement. So what's basically happening is, as she said, they started from the ground up. They kind of threw out the old manual that they were using and said, if we were going to create something, what would we create? And I think what they've done is retained the elements that were not copyrighted and added their own thing. What this allowed was opportunities during at least the first 2 days for things to be presented very differently. They're not using the live frame. They didn't start with the video that we often use. Now I've totally forgotten what it is called. It's Jill Bolte Taylor's Stroke of Insight. So that wasn't used at all. I was asked to present Model 1, Model 2, and I asked if I could do it in a completely different way. And she said, yes, this is the kind of stuff we want to do. So we did it as like a role play with people that were familiar with the material, and we sort of presented it for everybody else. And, I took on different roles. And anyway, it was kind of cool. But completely free and different feeling, not as heady. People still felt like there was a lot of information, but it was just really different. So thought you might want to know what it was like.
That sounds wonderful. In something that I have been giving thought to with the brief conversations that I've had with Jean is that I don't necessarily believe the 4-day contemplative dialogue retreat is put together well. And what I mean by that is the people that I gather with once a month went to that 4-day and they remember nothing because so much information was given in that short period of time. The only thing they really hang on to is the ladder of inference, and that's because we spend a lot of time on it. So to do things, and it was also very, very heady, I thought. And by the time the 3rd or 4th day came around, people were tired. I don't know that retaining information was happening. And it sounds like how you presented your Model 1, Model 2 was fun. And, and to see that and to be able to see and watch that take place had to be very valuable for somebody to see that. Like, oh, that's what that is. So that's exciting to hear. So I do look forward to my conversation with her. Something that I've been giving thought to is that if being certified in contemplative dialogue simply means that we are allowed to teach the contemplative dialogue per, how we're learning it, the 4-day, as opposed to taking bits and pieces of it. We don't need to be certified to take bits and pieces of it. Like if I wanted to do a workshop on the ladder of inference, I could do that. I don't need to have a certification in order to do that. My struggle with that right now is I don't really think the 4-day is anything that I'm going to really sink my heels into anyway. So do I continue to pursue certification, or do I just kind of let it flow naturally and see what transpires and investigate this dynamic dialogue and see? I like that you can do things differently and it doesn't have to be, verbatim textbook. Mm-hmm. I think that's got to open. I mean, every group is so different and it can be so powerful to be different and just kind of read the group, what's going on here and how can we make this more powerful. And mm-hmm. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So I'm glad to hear about your Model 1, Model 2 behavior episode there. That sounded fun.
It really was fun. I'm wondering too. I mean, there's so many SCRs I have about loyalty and commitments, and I feel like I made a commitment to be certified. But then I started to think the same way that what if what is that gaining me in a way? Because except for the fact that if I went to Canada or worked with Steve, I want to honor the way that he presents it. And so I feel like, but the language is completely different too. It's not, besides the freedom, she's got different stances. It's simple to the point where I kind of almost remember it, where honestly, it's going to be embarrassing to say, but there have been times when I've had to really think, what are the three stances of contemplative dialogue? Because it's one piece of so much information. And the way Jean has created it this time was that there's two qualities of presence. There's two major stances, I guess you'd say, two areas of concern. The quality of presence of yourself and the quality of engagement. So that makes sense. How do we show up and how do we interact? Okay, that's like common sense to me. So it really resonated with me. And then with that, there are four subcategories. I don't know if she's not using the word stances, but, creative freedom is one, compassion is one, kind of like active noticing, but that's not what she calls it. But just now I've forgotten because we've only done 2 of the 4 days, but they're more simply laid out. It felt like it just felt more organic. But I'm concerned about, since the language will be different, that I'll feel like I have a split personality if I'm certified in both. And then I started to wonder if Steve really it sounded like he would be okay with things being presented in different ways or with portions being done here and there, that he kind of encouraged that sort of experimentation. So I'm wondering if, just how he's feeling about this, because it was clear in the email that he might have been a little bit surprised by the direction it took. And I'm feeling kind of bad about that and wishing that maybe they had been able to talk about that a little more. I did have a conversation with Brenda, who was in practicum, the first practicum from Bread of Life, because she was there at this dynamic dialogue, and she runs the one of the communities of practice, and but she's never done any presenting, so she was really surprised to see that I was presenting. I think at the 2 days we had. She's gonna, I guess, do a presentation coming up, because she was just like, yeah, I should do this too. But anyway, her feedback was more about, or it was helpful to talk to her about how she's feeling. She sensed that this was starting to emerge about 6 or 8 months ago, this kind of split between Steve and Jean, and she really wants us to have a conversation about that, how we're feeling, what people are going to decide to do, et cetera. So we're not alone in this, and that made me feel a little bit better.
Yeah, I believe that we're not alone, and there's a lot of, it doesn't sound like you and I are in a really, or anyone like Raylene and Bob, it doesn't sound to me like we're in a major upset over it. We're upset. We're sad that our parents are getting divorced, and I am feeling torn. I know there's some major upset in 2 other study groups. And it's only because I had a conversation. One was with Larry, who really wants to join our study group, by the way. He said, can I join your study group? I said, well, I'm not really sure. I can't make that decision. He was excited to do this exercise, and his group won't do it because they're not going for certification. So, they don't do any of their homework because they're not going for certification. So he's the only one. So he feels very not supported in
Wow.
it. So, yeah, so he's feeling a little bit not in a good space with it all. But, and then there's an investment. There's a financial investment that the conversation has come up. We've all incredible investment, and to have it get rocky is kind of it hits in many different areas, and finances is one of them.
Absolutely.
And so that's been a topic of conversation as well. I'm excited to hear about dynamic dialogue and to be there. If I had any kind of upset around it, it's like, oh my gosh, I have to get another plane ticket, and I have to, another hotel room, and another time away from the office, and and that's frustrating for me. Very frustrating. I did ask her if she could webcam it like we're doing right now, if that's a possibility, and I guess it's up for discussion, but it hasn't happened. So that would make it a little bit nice. So, I still have to, I'm going to Hartford this weekend. That's another bunch of money, so what I'm saying. So there's a big financial thing going on. And then to have dynamic dialogue that I really want to know more about. I don't know. I feel kind of like everyone else, just kind of floundering at the moment. But I like that. I don't know that I feel an absolute need to be certified if I can take pieces of that and have workshops.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Why would I pursue that? And speaking of finances, it's so much a year that you have to pay in, so much if you get the 4-day. When I kind of feel that people get more out of less information.
Yeah.
Let's spend a day on level ladder of inference. Let's spend a day on polarity management. So it requires a lot of thought.
Really, I'm there with you because I just, and yet, I don't know, like I said, the loyalty piece or whatever it is, there's part of me that's kind of going, ooh, but how is Steve going to feel? And, I've told him that I really like this, and I've certainly gotten value out of the way it's been presented. And, to me, but there's the logistics of I'm on the West Coast, and, the likelihood of me, presenting 4 days like you is probably minimal, but like I'm doing a women's retreat in May, and I'm going to pull some of this in. Number one, to get some practice at it, but also because I think it's appropriate.
Sure.
And I would be worried, and there is the expense of the ongoing licensing. I don't think that Jean and Sandra are of that mindset at all. I think they want to make sure that if we're going to use the term, I would imagine they're going to be the same. If we're going to use the term dynamic dialogue, that we hold true, and our quality of presence and the way we, present it is going to be important to them, but not to the same level that holding the package in its entirety seems to be to Steve.
Okay.
That's just where I'm going with it. Yeah. It's a strange place to be in. I'm not majorly upset, like, oh my gosh, but like Brenda was saying, she sort of felt like she was bamboozled a little bit, that maybe this was going on, but she wasn't told that it was going on. And,
Yes, I have.
and that's kind of a little bit how I felt. Like, wait a minute, whoa, we're right in the midst of this right now, what do we do? Although I've made other than telling Steve my intention of becoming certified, I've done nothing else. I've not been very good about, I'd have to go back on that little checklist and say, I've done this skill. I've made this recording. I made 2 recordings this weekend that I still have to upload, but I'm not like being real anal about, I've done this presentation here, or I've explained it here, or, and I kind of don't want to. There's a part of me that doesn't feel comfortable getting to that level.
Yeah. I agree with you. I agree with you there. when I talked to Steve, I haven't really it was done over email. Like, oh, okay, Steve, I think I'm going to do this certification thing. And he was like, oh, glad to have you.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it.
That's
we
pretty
had no
much
further
all we
conversation.
said. Yeah, that's all he said to me too.
Yeah, and then I got so busy and so behind in homework that I reached out to Jane. And I said, Jane, I don't even think that I should continue because I am so far behind. And, you know, there's major deadlines in the seminary. Like, I have to have this paper done on this date or it's an issue. And I don't have that with contemplative dialogue. So obviously that's the one that falls by the wayside. Even though I enjoy it, it's the one that falls. And she says, oh, there's no beginning and end. You know, if it takes you an extra year to get through it, no worries. So I thought, oh, okay, I can handle that. So I'll do what I can until then. And then when I graduate, I'll go back and make sure, you know, I go through all the homework and all the readings and things like that. And I'm still up for that. You know, yeah. I think there's a lot of incredibly valuable information in our manual. And, you know, I want to make sure that I do that. I just don't know if the certification is the place for me. Mm-hmm. I don't know that. And I don't even know that I'll bring it up this week with Steve because, you know, I don't know. I don't think I will. I will definitely bring it up with Jean because I guess I feel a little more comfortable. Mm-hmm. But, and again, I'm excited to do this next 4 days and see how active engagement is presented. And so I guess we're all still flowing.
I'm going to have to interrupt here because our time is about up. So if there's anything else that needs to be said, right? Yeah.
Yeah. You cracked me up. Okay, this is really weird, though.
Okay, so when you're ready, you can unbind yourselves. Unblind yourself.
Oh, my Lord. Oh, my God, it's bright out here.
I know. What is that?
Oh, man.
At first, I thought we would have nothing to say, Darcy. At first, I said, oh, my gosh, what are we going to talk about for 20 minutes? And then, oh, my gosh, it's done.
Oh, God. Oh, that's hilarious.
Okay, so let's just take a moment and you know, we're shifting gears here. And so just when you feel like you want to process what happened, you know, looking both at the objective things you notice, but also the subjective too.
Well, it was certainly easier to concentrate for me on what was being said.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just really different to not rely on any kind of body language or, you know, even a nod of the head or whatever. It's very different to just listen. I felt like we talked in a dream or something, you know.
Wow.
Yeah. I felt that way too. Definitely I could concentrate more. And I know that I speak with my hands and I nod. And a couple of times in my mind I'm going, I wonder if Bob is seeing them. I wonder if he sees me doing this. But, and how, you know, how that's just part of how I talk because I'm sitting there going, I really don't have to do that. You know, she's got her blindfold on and I've got mine on. And that little conversation that went on very briefly was kind of cute. But I definitely concentrated more. If someone said, hey, what did you talk about with Darcy? I would definitely be able to, I feel, do a pretty good job as opposed to some conversations that I have with people where I go, what did they say?
Yeah, right. Well, in response, I did look a little bit, but I tried. But my thing was mainly I would close my eyes for most of the conversation, but I was also paying attention to, okay, what did I hear go on in terms of the excitement in the conversation? It would start to move around, the creative possibilities of this dynamic dialogue, and the freedom to try things, and just this openness, and then I would hear a little bit of when the concern would come in, and both about the future and the past, are these feelings. And so I was just hearing the tone of voice, and I started to just notice the shifts in how it moved around. But towards the end, something began to flow, and I think it was about when you started talking about Larry or other people. Is it Brenda? When you included other people, it was almost like a validation, and there was a what I would call a flow. So it was like, it's kind of like putting a puzzle together. You have the pieces all out there, and then suddenly something clicks, and there feels. Anyway, this is what I was noticing, that we, even myself, were in sync.
Neat.
Very neat. Yeah, interesting.
Yeah. And I attribute that, this is an assumption I'm making, but it's, how would I call it? There was a movement into openness. Yeah. I also noticed I would get nervous about, okay, what am I supposed to do here in terms of being the facilitator? And, okay, I'm listening so intently. Why am I listening that way? So I was a little, it's more at the beginning, preoccupied with the logistics and, the whole noticing this technical difficulty there at the beginning, but quickly addressing it and feeling I was settling into observing and not worrying about being responsible for the group or the process.
It was good to have a facilitator, Bob, to have you in that role, because the way I read the assignment, because I could have maybe skimmed it maybe a little bit too quickly, but I didn't realize that only two of us would be blindfolded. I thought we all would be, even you.
Yeah, I did too.
And so even though you're facilitating it, so I wondered what it would be like to have a larger group doing this. And because with just two of us, it was like, well, if she's not talking, it's probably okay for me to talk. But if you have like a lot of people doing this, it's what happens in group dynamics anyway, is, who takes that lead and starts the conversation, and how much silence before you think, okay, this is just not going to happen. That's always my fear. It'd just be interesting to know what this would be like in a larger group or with more than 2 people, at least.
And also perhaps with people that we didn't know.
Oh, yeah.
What would that be like? Like if we were doing a workshop or something for people, would it be a really awesome way to open, to have people put blindfolds on and not have those assumptions by looking at people that we don't even know that we're jumping to, but we are. That could be a very powerful exercise, I think.
Some people have said that television show The Voice, where they start out where they don't see what the person looks like when they're singing, because that clouds our opinions of like how they would be as a performer. And so I don't know if you're familiar with the show, but the judges have their backs to the person singing. And if they like what they hear, and they can only base it on what they hear because they've not looked at the person, then they turn their chair around and they become one of their coaches, or possibly one of their coaches. And what's fascinating about that is, there could be all kinds of physical limitations or unattractiveness or attractiveness, depending on, what your perception of that is. And that could color how you hear them actually perform. And so what I love about it is that it's a blind audition in that sense. And it's really cool. It's
a great example.
Really,
it's a great example.
Yeah.
Darcy, just to go back to what you said about the exercise, I was intending to put the blindfolds on, but I think I just was wanting, or I felt the need for me to play with keeping my eyes closed, but also being aware of the time. And I did feel it helped to be able to jot down things. But in the case, I think it can be done with everybody having the blindfold, but that's how I chose to do it. So.
Well done.
Yes. Good job, Bob.
Well, that was phase 1 or 2. What I do want to invite you to at this point is, this is a little twist or something I've added. I'm going to just ask you to, again, be quiet for a little bit and see if there is a common symbol that we could perhaps arrive at in terms of what our experience was, both in the content but also in our processing afterwards. Just take a moment and, again, if it helps to go back to that safe place, that sacred place, and just see if there was a common element. Or just notice what the experience was like, and if you could symbolize that.
What's interesting is when I thought of my safe place, it's actually, both of you have probably been there. It's at the Mercy Center. I love that. There's a little bridge when you go walking, and it crosses over a stream. It's near the Stations of the Cross. It's like just as you just begin that little bridge. Anyway, that's just always been a cool place for me, and a place of deep rest and reflection. And I was thinking about how that stream looks different every time I go, depending on the season and how much water, if any, is in that stream. And I was thinking that our conversation was a little bit like that. that it's through the rocks, it's still flowing. We've still got this dialogue that's unifying both programs, this sense of showing up differently and engaging other people differently. And so that's the water. I mean, it's still running through, but sometimes it's blocked with the rocks and all that. So that's just kind of what comes through my mind.
I took this really wonderful little class on Saturday, which was totally not anything I should have added to my plate of things to do, but it was meditative. It was Japanese brushing art, and I found it was very relaxing, so it was a very good thing. But we spent the entire class painting end zones, which are just circles. And the whole class was, and sometimes it was a dry brush, and sometimes a really heavy brush, and you get into the meditation, and everything is happening in the circle, and it's your safe space. And I felt that we were in that circle together. I didn't feel, I felt in a safe space with it all. I felt very safe, and that we were definitely communicating and hearing each other really well. So that circle became my symbol for that activity.
Yeah. Oh. My symbol was again listening to water, and it was well. I guess the best thing is the image I did this weekend of a sailboat and the different layers of depth in terms of how to color the different depths, and I guess that's what I was experiencing in the whole up to now was. There was this flow, but also there was variations in color or moments of bobbing in the water. But the feeling of being carried along. Yeah.
Wow.
Nice.
So there's one last thing. I'm going to ask you now to notice us as a group. Was there, or how did our insides become more expanded in listening to each other? And I think we might have responded to that in some way. But, where we had a deeper communal awareness, was there a moment, or what was the value? And this takes me back to the organizational awareness chart, is that's what we seek in terms of the group process is coming to an expanded awareness. And so I'm wondering if you can recall or notice how that happened for us in the encounter today.
Well, I felt that it's a wonderful exercise to do with you because we were attached, and it was safe. It was safe for me. It was a very safe space. But as far as the larger picture, the growing awareness is, can I take that information out when I'm with another person and know that I might be making clearly from this exercise, can I really be hearing all of the conversation that I'm having with them and knowing it well? And can I show up differently? Can I show up differently from this little exercise, knowing that I'm not always showing up differently?
Yeah, I was wondering something similar that we were talking about a shared experience in a way. I mean, we're talking about,
Yeah.
our conversation was about something we both knew a lot about. The struggle
Right.
of, between Gene and Steve and that dynamic. We share that experience, and we also seem to agree very much about how we're feeling about certification or not.
Yeah.
And so we kind of were coming in a sense from the same place. We had a lot of agreement, but if I'm wondering how different it would have been if Dia had instead said, I'm firmly in Steve's camp. I believe in certification. I think dynamic dialogue is crazy, and had some real strong emotions around that. How the conversation would have gone. Because could I have really heard her
Yes.
not agreeing with her? And I feel like I don't hear people when I disagree with them, or when there's been some bad interactions between us or something, that I bring all of that to the listening.
Yeah, right. Yeah, as you said, our assumptions based on our SDRs, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Well, I said this earlier, but for me, I was again going back and forth between trying to really listen to the conversation and then thinking about, well, what about the time now, and pulling back. So I could, as a facilitator, feel myself pulling back from being present to the content, especially the feelings. And what I felt a shift was, again, it's interesting. It was kind of like this up and down, and we kept rising, especially like there was this peak when we talked about creation and freedom. When I heard that, and the possibility, the potential there, and then some of the feelings that were catching us in terms of, it was truthful in terms of, wow, I guess I really feel this way. And there being, like I said, an ebb and flow almost. And then I felt it really opened up when we included the other people from the other practicums, or again, Larry and Brenda. So it was not just the authorities or the facilitators of the program, but there was a more of a us, a we, and so that's where I was noticing that we were opening up more.
I like that image of the ebb and flow of the conversation, but not just like in and out, like deeper or not deep, but kind of this, that there were points that it was I know, I felt like, oh, thank God she agrees with me on this.
Yeah.
That it was like, that was kind of nice. It shared fears, and the excitement of being able to do this in different ways, in a way that feels like it resonates with us, in our work. Yeah. That's good.
One thing, again, this is, go ahead, Darcy.
Well, actually, this was just a follow-up question because I'm curious, Dia, but when you've done other 4 days, have they been 4 consecutive days, or were they ever 2 and 2?
2 and 2.
Oh, okay.
They were 2 and 2. Okay. Yeah.
Still
but I know.
Yeah,
I thought so.
Okay. I was just
I thought it
curious.
was a lot of information.
Yeah, it is.
And I could remember showing up at our first intensive and looking through the book and saying, oh my gosh, I don't remember this,
Yeah.
because it was just so much information.
Okay, so
I still do that, actually.
major
I
fess
still
up
do
here.
that.
This is embarrassing. This goes to show you, this is me being real here. So Jean asked me for one of the 2 days coming up. We have 2 and 2. So she asked me if I would do something on the social virtues. And I'm thinking, what the hell are the social virtues? And so then she hands me a piece of paper, and I mean, I think I played it pretty good, but she handed me a paper, and I'm like looking at this, and so I wrote to her and said, well, since this is brand new, I don't really feel comfortable with this, and I'd rather do another piece. She gave me some options. Then I go to do my homework, and there it is. I mean, and I'm like, how did I miss this? That even the term, have we ever used the term social virtues ever? And I'm thinking, wow, she must just be thinking, really, Darcy? That's brand new to you. Okay, great. I'm mortified to see that that's actually there. Oh, Lord. Anyway.
Uh-huh.
That's cute. I did work with those this month, the social virtues, but you're right. You're right. I think last month on the phone call, I said that I was going to make little index cards, which I did do, which are not here, but and just carry one around with me and work with it. I have to say, it was really a wonderful exercise.
Yeah.
I would have done. It was a wonderful exercise to do that, but I wouldn't have known what they were. And there's still some things in here, Model 1, Model 2. Larry and I were like, he keeps saying his group says that he's in Model 1 behavior. And he says, and I just don't get it. It's like, okay.
That's great. I'm telling you, that was so much fun to do it. I put on a hat, and I had a little index card on there that said Model 1. And what we did is we ran a meeting. And the meeting was that we were the parish council, and we were given the task of putting on the parish picnic, which happened at our parish. Okay. So it was something, I'm not on the parish council, but it was something that happened, So I did the Model 1, and I was the leader of the meeting, and I was just like, okay, everybody, here's the plan. You do this, you do this, you do this. And people were like ready to hate me. And it was hilarious. And then I did the nice Model 1 with, okay, we've got cake, and I just love you guys. And you guys are like, oh my gosh, we are like Christians, and we've been asked to do this, and we need to do it because we love Jesus. And I mean, I went nuts with it. I'm not kidding you. It was the most fun.
Awesome.
And then each time that we unpacked it, and I said, what did you notice? And they said, I was going to kill you, with Model 1. And then with nice Model 1, they were just like, ew, they felt used. But I was so dramatic with it, and then with the Model 2, it was Jean was on my committee, so I said, you're going to have to help me here because I don't have a lot of experience with a good Model 2 meeting. And so she was like helping me out, and Anne Rooney was there, and she helped. And Brenda. So it was just really cool. And we had this Model 2 meeting so we used the same issue for all 3. And it was like, this is how different it can look. And oh my gosh, I don't know what came to, it was literally 5:00 in the morning. I woke up and said, I'm going to try it this way. And Jean said, that's the kind of freedom I want us to be able to have when we present this material. And she goes, I loved that. And she totally, took a risk, because I didn't even know how it was going to work, really. I thought this could just fall. I could fall flat on my face here, but it was so much fun to have that creativity. And just having people get up and move around. We did other activities, and so it's not just sitting and listening to lecture, for 4 days. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. So
Very nice.
Boy,
yeah.
That's really affirming for me, Darcy. Well, I mean, both of you referred to it in your conversation earlier, but you're just displaying what you did. I think I mentioned at the beginning of today, my goal for the next few months is I want to learn to translate dialogue with the art, and so that's why I included the little things, trying to use our imagination to help us move into a little deeper place, and then to come up with symbols, because it's accessing that other part of the brain, and which is what Jill Bolte Taylor's video is all about, and that we can keep going back to that place. And you both addressed it in your conversation, which it got me excited to know that I think taking the risk that Bread of Life is allowing more of those creative moments to use both sides of the brain, because I honestly couldn't give a presentation on our particular items or resources unless I had some art involved, just because that's what I'm used to. I'm familiar with it, but that's how I plan to use it. And personally, it just, I find I learn best that way.
I like it. Yeah. Yeah. And then part of me wonders that, I know that Steve is very concerned about keeping the package in a sense together. I mean, that's an assumption I have. He may have loved having Model 1, Model 2 at a 4-day presented the way that I presented it. So, I don't want to kind of make this, create this situation where Gene's the creative one and is allowed, and Steve is the rigid, and I've got to keep it, the polarity almost, right? And I don't want to create that, because it may not exist. I honestly think Steve would have really liked that. But it's not how he normally presents. Do you know what I mean? So, it's going to be, it's just, I guess I kind of wish that he could have allowed it.
Yeah, and again, this is a bias based on my experience at Bread of Life, but that's one of their goals, I think, is, the fact that they have the art in their place of work is a statement that's welcomed and encouraged and hoped for. And so I think that's just coming out of who they are. And again, like I said, I don't know Steve except through this mutual friend, and I think he'd be open to it. But at the same time, too, I don't think he's in that milieu that would be automatic as an option. Yeah.
Right.
Because I did think I heard him say that, I hope you'll use this. I know Gene definitely did, but he seemed to be like, yes, I want you to play with this material and, use it. Because he told me, I know you're in a church setting and, gosh, if you can do a couple of hours or something, so it wasn't like you have to only do the 4-day and that's the only way I want this presented. I didn't get that sense from him. So that's why I'm a little bit surprised that they weren't able to kind of work this out. Maybe his fear was that it would be diluted. And I think they've had some experience in people like presenting the material in a Model 1 way. And, you might have a little fear about that. But it's, and I don't know Connie, that there could be an influence there, of, in terms of marketing it, or I don't know, of holding the package together.
Right.
I don't know. But I'm looking forward. I mean, I think I'm nervous about October. what that's going to look like
Uh-huh.
with both of them there. I'm actually kind of nervous about our call tomorrow and what that
Oh,
energy
right, yeah.
might be
Yeah.
like. It's kind of the
'Cause-
elephant in the room.
And I wonder, I wonder if it will be discussed, because there are some very upset people.
Mm.
And I didn't realize that until Larry, I guess Larry's been reaching out. And I'm really surprised that it hasn't been talked about, or maybe they just don't know enough information yet to talk about it. But I kind of read that too. Like, we're still trying to figure out what happened.
Right.
I don't know.
Well, it's
We'll
funny
have to see.
because 2 months ago or 3 months ago, when we kind of got the sense, and I said, maybe I should ask Jean, and I started an email. Just right after that, I said, is this something that we can bring up at the large group call? And Jean said,
Yeah.
I don't think this is a good time
No.
to do that. So,
Yeah.
I
Yeah,
don't know if
right.
it'll be brought. I don't think now's even better.
No,
It may be a worse time to talk about it. I don't know.
I don't know. We'll have to see if someone brings it up. Won't be me. Not me. I see Steve next week. I see Jean next week.
Wow, true. Yeah,
But I
It'll
won't
be
say
interesting.
anything with Steve.
yeah.
Steve said we'll spend our evenings evaluating the day. Because I was like, oh, so tell me about the day. And he says, well, it's 9 to 5, and then we'll have dinner, and then you and I will, kind of pick apart and the evenings and talk about what happened during the day.
Mm.
Okay, sounds fun.
Wow, that'll be neat.
But you've done that already, correct, Darcy?
With Jean, not with Steve.
Oh, okay.
I've never been to a 4-day with Steve.
Okay.
So my relationship with him is a little bit different. With Jean, I went to one, obviously the one that I was interested in, before I joined the practicum. And then I went to another 4-day with her. And then I went to one that was active engagement, which really wasn't all that different. I mean, I think she used the term.
Sure.
It was the only thing.
Yeah.
And then this one.
Okay.
And this is the first, in fact, she said, I'm crafting this kind of as we go along. So this is the first dynamic dialogue 4-day, I think.
Okay.
Oh, uh-huh.
So, because I was wanting to know, like, what pieces do you want me to do? I want to be prepared. And she could only tell me like one day
Yeah.
at a time. Like, maybe have this ready for the first day. I did the latter the first day, and then, and the closing dialogue. And then the second day, on the first day, she said, on the second day, can you do model 1, model 2? And I said, sure. Or social bridges. Yeah. So I really had like just overnight to think about it, That's
Oh,
pretty
my
good, though.
word.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. Yeah, you're right.
Get your feet wet that way. But
Yeah.
I apologize for the noise in the background. My coworker's printing some things in my office here.
I don't even hear it.
Oh, okay.
Oh, good.
Yeah, is not bad at all. Huh. Well, I guess I just want to ask you, was there anything else about the actual exercise? I guess we're moving into what we're going to take away, but was there any other questions that came to mind that we could all ponder, or other comments about the value of this exercise?
Well, I thought it was incredibly valuable. And like I said, if I was to craft a day, no matter what I was talking about, whether the letter or the stances or whatever, I think this is such a valuable exercise for strangers to do and to kind of see where it goes. I think it would be exciting to see what happens and where it goes. So I will definitely use it as a takeaway exercise. And one point I do want to make is that, when Darcy and I first started, and I was like, okay, what are we going to talk about? I don't even know. And I was thinking like, oh, okay, I just read The Helping, and there's some really good things in that book, little tidbits of information like, oh gosh, that's so good. So I figured, well, okay, I could bring some of that up and see where that goes. And it would have been interesting to see where something else went too, but I was so delighted that you came up with this topic. But,
I really was, because, I'm in a closed office, but people sometimes just walk in, and I have a little note saying I'm in a phone conference, but I spent way too much time worried about what would happen if somebody walked in, or looked through the window and went, the heck is she doing in this dialogue conference? Because I think there's some questions about what I do in it anyway, and so.
Yeah.
But anyway, I seriously had to let go of all that and just go, so they think I'm weird. I mean, I have to, I'm here, I got to invest myself in this activity. But I would expect that with strangers, that anxiety would raise even more. Like, is someone really peeking, or am I really going to be the only one with the blindfold?
Yeah.
Kind of like as a kid when you played that game, doggy, where's your bone? I don't know, maybe to play it, but the idea is like somebody would always cheat, those kinds of stuff, but so, it'd be scary for me to facilitate a group of strangers doing this. I applaud you, Dia. I would love to know how it worked out. I don't have the courage for that, I don't think.
I may do that on Wednesday night with my other group, and I will let you know that.
Good.
And just do it with a different group. And they're still familiar. They're very familiar, but I'd like to see where somebody else takes it, and I'll report back.
Thanks.
Yeah. Well, it's like when they first heard about the blindfold exercise, I thought it was like for social psych, there's the exercise where one person's blindfolded and the other leads them on a walk.
A trust walk,
and, the whole trust.
Yeah.
And, the trust walk. And are you really going to make sure they are going to keep you safe? And all those questions that come up. But this a little variation of this. But trust is how do you do that when you engage with people? And I think I just was aware of the in and out during the conversation, and that's something I may not have been as aware of before. Because I really wanted to follow the conversation and be part of it in my presence, but I also felt the technical aspect of it, being the leader of the group or whatever. So, and and that raises for me the question, can I trust the process? Could I have let go? Could I have let go of some of those worries about how this was going to run, and just stayed? Wow, that's something considerable.
I like the idea of, I've done the trust walk before, but in terms of this practice, that could be another real physical thing, to get people from away from just sitting and listening, but to actually do a trust walk and talk about, you could cover assumptions, that you make, how safe you feel with the other person, and you are listening to their instructions, because they're telling you, go, walk around this rock, there's going to be a rock, or you have to take 5 steps to the left. You could really combine a lot of the pieces of dynamic dialogue, contemplative dialogue, and I mean, you could cover a lot with the trust walk and then unpacking it
Mm-hmm.
in terms of
Yeah, yeah,
dialogue.
right.
I like it. I like using it for that reason.
Yeah.
Yeah, that can be really, really good.
Oh, yeah.
And I wonder if if you're doing it as a welcome to my workshop, and here we go, we're all going to put blindfolds on and introduce each other, have a table that doesn't do that. And does one table remember better than the other? What's that dynamic? I wonder how that would be, you know? Because you know how sometimes we have, when you do that, you're asked to take notes. Well, you're not asked to take notes, but I know when I do that at a workshop, I'll go, oh, her name is this, and she's this old, she comes from this place. But would I remember it better with a blindfold on? Just interesting.
I like it.
Yeah. That's right, yeah. Because I think, as you said earlier, Dia, when I'm able to look at a person as they start talking immediately, or even before they start talking, I'm starting to make assumptions. Oh, because in SCR, it reminds me of somebody from my past, and immediately I have a dislike for them, or, I really want to get to know that person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's neat. Of course, I'd be worried they'd walk out if I tried that as within the first 10 minutes of a workshop.
Okay, we can do it after lunch.
Put blindfolds on. Get comfortable.
You get those little Halloween masks.
It would be interesting, though, like, say, at the end of a first day.
Oh, yeah.
If you're going to do a day long or more than a day, it's at the end of the day, you kind of put the blindfolds on and introduce your partner or somebody on either side of you or something like that, or it's just like, because it'd be interesting to see what you came in with in the morning or the beginning, and then what do you how much have you gained from this other person at the end of the day.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, speaking of which, we're coming towards the end here, so let's just take a moment and just check inside. What is it we're noticing or feeling, and what is it we take away from today?
I think one of my takeaways is it feels like we're at a transition point. I noticed it in myself, but I think even as a group, from kind of mastering the material ourselves and focusing on how we're integrating it into our own lives, into this, how can we share this now that we've kind of got it more in our bones? How can we tweak it and change it and have fun with the material? And so it feels like there's a new emerging energy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will second that as well, and I'm also excited. I like when we share ideas, because I think we can build on them and take them out to other people on great exercises. And I'm excited to do this exercise Wednesday night. I think it'll be really fun. And it'll be fun to give you the information. Maybe I'll tape it
Hey, good idea.
That would be
Yeah.
cool. Yeah. Hmm. The I keep coming back to our images. It seems like water was common to all three. More specifically, deal with yours and the brush, and being able to use that element as part of well, centering yet opening at the same time, and that seems to be what I began to pick up as a thread for me through the morning. That there's this as I came into my center more and just paid attention when I was drifting away, that movement. It was centered, but then it just kept like an accordion. And making that music through the movement. So I think that's what I'm taking away with, and maybe that's the a variation on what you said, Darcy, about this energy. I felt a freedom of movement than I have before, mainly around, am I getting this right?
Yeah.
Will I ever get it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, in any case.
That was great. Good job,
Um,
Bob.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. That was awesome.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super great
What's it called?
exercise.
So what do we do about next month?
We're scheduled, right? The 4th of May?
Oh, at 8 a.m. Yeah, it's a little bit of a
Okay.
tough time
All
for
right.
me, but I can do it, I think.
Isn't that our usual time?
It is.
Oh, okay. Do you need to move it an hour? We could ask
Well, no,
if
no,
that's
no.
okay.
I think it'll work. We're bringing somebody, John Angotti, who's a very popular Catholic singer, into our parish. He'll be here from the 1st through the 5th. And so mornings should be okay. Yeah, we have our big
Okay.
performance the night before. So I might be a little tired, but it'll all be good.
Well, I'll think of
Oh,
a way.
yeah.
I'm facilitating, so I'll think of a wake me up exercise.
Okay. Perfect. So yeah, I have May 4th.
Well, thanks again,
Yes,
team.
thank you, everybody.
I guess we'll see you tomorrow.
Yeah. Let's see how
Well,
that goes.
hear you
Yeah,
tomorrow.
that's right.
Yeah, and we'll see if the elephant is
Yeah.
online too.
So true. Oh my goodness.
Darcy, are you gonna send the video to Raylene?
I will. I'm
Or-
going to see how to do that.
Okay.
I think I did it before,
Yeah. Okay.
so I just need to figure out how to do it.
I know.
You did do it once
okay.
before.
Okay. That gives me confidence that I can remember.
Yeah.
We're pulling for you.
Little confidence.
Yeah.
Thank
You
you.
go, girl.
All righty. I hate being the technology person, and they call me that here too. And I'm like, you don't understand.
Okay.
I stress every moment. All right. I'll give it a shot, though.
Have a wonderful
Okay.
day.
Thanks. You guys
Thanks
too.
so much. Yeah, you too. Bye.
Take care.
Okay, bye.
Bye-bye.